The council chamber was quiet. Too quiet. Ambassador Kelvin stood at the center of the great hall, his 3 eyes dimmed with exhaustion. Around him, representatives from dozens of worlds watched and waited. They all knew what was coming. They had been running from it for months. "The Vexnor have taken another system," Kelvin said. His voice translator made his words sound flat and lifeless. 12 billion souls, gone in 3 days. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Species that had never agreed on anything suddenly found common ground in their terror. The Vexnor were not like other enemies. They could not be reasoned with. They could not be stopped. They just consumed everything in their path. Kelvin raised one of his forearms for silence. "We have tried everything. Our weapons bounce off their shells. Our ships melt before we can get close. They breed faster than we can kill them. They survive in heat that would vaporize our soldiers. They breathe atmospheres that dissolve our armor." An elder from the Crystalline Collective spoke up. "What about the new plasma weapons? The ones the Zinthari developed?" "Tested and failed," Kelvin replied. "The Vexnor adapted within hours. They now use plasma as a food source." The chamber fell silent again. Every species present had lost worlds to the swarm. Some had lost entire colonies. The Vexnor were unstoppable, and everyone knew it. "There is one option left," Kelvin said slowly. "One we have been avoiding because we fear what it might mean." "Speak plainly," demanded the Zinthari commander. "We have no time for games." Kelvin took a breath. "We contact the Deathworlders." The reaction was immediate. Half the chamber recoiled in horror. The other half looked confused. The humans had only joined the Galactic Council 2 years ago. Most species still barely understood them. "You cannot be serious," the crystalline elder said. "The humans are barely civilized. They come from a planet that kills its own inhabitants. They eat other living creatures. They have bacteria living inside their bodies. They also," Kelvin said carefully, "have survived conditions that would kill any of us in minutes. They have fought wars on their own planet that lasted years. They have weapons we do not understand and tactics that make no sense. Most importantly, they do not give up. Ever." The Zinthari commander leaned forward. "What makes you think they would help us? We have given them little respect since they joined." "Because," Kelvin said, "that is what humans do. We have studied them. When others are in danger, they respond. It is not logical. It is not efficient. But it is consistent." The debate raged for another hour. Some argued that bringing humans into the fight would be worse than the Vexnor themselves. Others pointed out that they had no other options. In the end, desperation won over fear. The message was sent to human space. Now they could only wait and hope. Captain Jake Morrison was in the middle of his morning coffee when the alert came through. He set down his cup and pulled up the message on his personal display. His eyes widened as he read. "Well," he said to the empty room, "that is interesting." He tapped his communication badge. "Amy Rodriguez, get to the bridge. We have a situation." Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez arrived 3 minutes later, still pulling on her uniform jacket. "What have we got, Captain?" Jake forwarded the message to her display. "The Galactic Council needs help. Some kind of alien swarm is eating planets. They have tried everything and nothing works. They are asking if we can assist." Amy read through the report quickly. Her eyebrows went up. "They survive in 600-degree heat and acid rain, and they regenerate damage in seconds?" "That is what it says." "That sounds really dangerous," Jake grinned. "That sounds like fun. Get me a list of every ship we have in range, and wake up the crew. We are going hunting." Within the hour, the bridge of the UHSV Defiant was buzzing with activity. Lieutenant Danny Chen sat at the helm running pre-flight checks. Lieutenant Greg Palmer was at Tactical, reviewing weapon systems. Amy stood next to the captain's chair, coordinating with the other ships in their fleet. "We have 47 ships ready to go," Amy reported. "The carrier Thunderhead, 6 destroyers, and the rest are frigates and support vessels. Commander Lisa Zhang says her Marines can be ready to deploy in 6 hours. Make it 4, Jake said. If the report is accurate, every minute counts. Danny turned from his station. Captain, I have been reading the briefing. These Vexnor things are really tough. The report says they have wiped out 3 different species. How are we supposed to fight something like that? Jake stood and walked to the main view screen. On it, he pulled up an image of Earth. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling in beautiful patterns. Danny, let me tell you about our planet. See how pretty it looks? That is a trap. Earth is one of the most dangerous places in the known galaxy. We have storms that can level cities. We have temperatures that range from hot enough to cook you to cold enough to freeze you solid. We have animals that can kill you in 100 different ways. We have plants that are poisonous. We have insects that carry diseases. We even have tiny organisms that can end civilizations. He turned back to his crew. Every human alive today is the product of millions of years of evolution on that nightmare world. Our ancestors survived ice ages and heat waves. They survived predators and plagues. They did not do it by being the strongest or the fastest. They did it by being smart, adaptable, and too stubborn to die. Danny smiled. So you are saying we are qualified for this job? I am saying we were born for this job. The Vexnor think they are tough because they can survive extreme heat. We built air conditioning. They think they are unstoppable because they adapt quickly. We invented medicine specifically to kill things that adapt. They think they are scary because they eat planets. We are from a planet that has been trying to eat us since day one, and we are still here. Greg spoke up from Tactical. Captain, I have a question. The Council says they have been fighting the Vexnor for months and losing. What makes us think we can do better? Because, Jake said, settling back into his chair, they have been fighting like civilized species, following rules, using approved weapons, fighting fair. We are from Earth. We stopped fighting fair about the time someone invented the sharp stick. Amy laughed. So what is the plan? Simple, Jake said. We go to the Vexnor. We hit them with everything we have, and we keep hitting them until they are gone or we are. That is the Deathworld way. No retreat. No surrender. Just forward. The crew began preparing the ship for departure. Supplies were loaded. Weapons were checked. Battle stations were assigned. In the crew quarters, soldiers prepared their gear and said their goodbyes to loved ones. Everyone knew this would be dangerous, but no one suggested staying behind. In the cargo bay, mechanics were loading special equipment, flamethrowers that burned hotter than the surface of a star, crow weapons that could freeze solid steel in seconds, chemical weapons that Earth had developed to fight its own incredibly resilient pests, and of course good old-fashioned explosives. Lots of explosives. Lisa Zhang walked through the bay, inspecting her Marines. Listen up, people. We are about to fight an enemy that has destroyed entire civilizations. They are tough. They are mean. They are really hard to kill. But remember what I taught you. We are from Earth. Tough is what we do for fun. The Marines cheered. They loaded into their drop pods, checking seals and testing equipment. Each soldier wore armor designed to work in any environment from Arctic cold to volcanic heat. Each carried weapons that could adapt to different situations, and each had been trained to never give up no matter what. On the bridge, Jake watched the fleet assemble. 47 ships, each carrying humans who had volunteered for this mission. Humans who could have stayed safe at home but chose to help strangers instead. All ships report ready, Amy said. We can jump whenever you give the order. Jake looked at the stars on the view screen. Somewhere out there, billions of people were dying. Somewhere out there, the Vexnor were consuming another world. And somewhere out there, aliens who barely knew humanity were hoping that the crazy Deathworlders would somehow save them. All ships, Jake said into the fleet channel. This is Captain Morrison. Today we go to war. Not for territory or resources. Not for glory or honor. We go because people need help and we are the only ones who can give it. We go because that is what humans do. We go because someone has to and it might as well be us. He paused, then smiled. And because these Vexnor things sound like they need to learn what happens when you mess with a species from a death world. All ships, jump on my mark. Let us go show them what Earth produces. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving human space behind. They were heading toward a battle they might not win. Against an enemy they had never fought, to save people they barely knew. It was the most human thing they could possibly do. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Thoraxis system. What they saw made even the veteran crew members pause. The planet below was covered in dark patches that seemed to writhe and pulse. Those were the Vexnor swarms, millions of creatures working as one massive organism. Scan results coming in, Greg Palmer reported from Tactical. I am reading multiple breaches in the planetary defense grid. The Vexnor have overrun 3 of the 5 continents. There are still civilians trapped in the northern cities. Jake studied the tactical display. The Thracian defense fleet was in full retreat, their ships damaged and burning. As he watched, another Thracian destroyer exploded under the weight of Vexnor warriors that had somehow boarded it. Amy, get me the Thracian commander. A moment. Later, a tired-looking alien face appeared on the screen. Admiral Veln looked like he had not slept in days. Behind him, his bridge was filled with smoke and sparks. Human vessel, this is Admiral Veln. I must warn you, the situation is hopeless. We are evacuating what civilians we can, but the Vexner are too strong. I suggest you retreat while you still can. Jake shook his head. Admiral, with all respect, we did not come all this way to retreat. We came to help. What can you tell us about the enemy? Veln looked surprised. The Vexner thrive in extreme heat. Our weapons barely slow them down before they regenerate. They can survive in toxic atmospheres that would kill my people in seconds. They learn and adapt to our tactics within hours. We have lost 4 fleets trying to stop them. Understood. Admiral, I need you to pull your forces back to the outer system. We are going in. Captain Morrison, your ships will not survive atmospheric entry at those speeds. The heat friction alone will destroy you. Jake smiled. Admiral, our ships were built to launch from Earth. We deal with heat friction every time we leave our own planet. Just watch and learn. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. All hands, battle stations. Danny, plot a course straight into the atmosphere. I want us over the largest Vexnor concentration in 5 minutes. Aye, Captain. Course laid in. Amy, signal the fleet. We are executing the Deathworld doctrine. All ships are free to engage at will. Amy nodded and began relaying orders. Across the fleet, ships began accelerating toward the planet. On the carrier Thunderhead, Commander Lisa Zhang was addressing her Marines in the launch bay. All right, people, listen up. We are about to drop into the hottest, most toxic environment you have ever seen. The Vexenor like heat and poison. They regenerate fast. They hunt in swarms. And they have killed billions. She paused and looked at each of her soldiers. But here is what they do not know. We are from Earth. We evolved on a planet where everything wants to kill us. Our ancestors fought saber-toothed tigers and cave bears. They survived ice ages with nothing but fire and sharp rocks. They crossed oceans in wooden boats and climbed mountains that could barely support life. Sergeant Kyle Bennett raised his hand. Commander, what is our primary objective? Simple. We find their breeding chambers and destroy them. Cut off their reproduction and they cannot replace their losses. The Vexnor are tough, but they are not smart. They rely on numbers. We take away their numbers. We win. Private Jake Collins checked his rifle. Commander, I have a question. Why does Command keep calling this the Deathworld Doctrine? What does that mean? Lisa smiled. The Deathworld Doctrine is simple. When you come from the most dangerous planet in the galaxy, you learn to fight dirty. You use every advantage. You never give up. You adapt faster than the enemy can. And most importantly, you remember that nature does not care about fair fights. Neither do we. The Marines loaded into their drop pods. Each pod was essentially a metal coffin designed to punch through atmosphere at terrifying speeds and deliver its passenger alive. It was not comfortable, it was not safe, but it worked. On the bridge of the Defiant, Jake watched as his ship entered the atmosphere. The view screen showed the hull glowing red, then white, then almost blue from the heat. Alarms were going off everywhere. The temperature readings were climbing past anything the Thracians could survive. Hull temperature at 400 degrees and climbing, Greg reported. Shields holding at 60%. That is fine. Keep going. Danny's hands were steady on the controls. Captain, we are approaching terminal velocity. If we do not slow down soon, we are going to hit the surface like a meteor. Not yet. I want the Vexnor to think we are out of control. Make them come to us. And they did. The Vexnor swarm, attracted to the heat signature of the human ships, began rising from the surface in massive clouds. They swarmed toward the descending vessels, ready to tear them apart like they had done to so many others. Now, Jake said, all ships fire at will. The human fleet opened up with everything they had, but these were not the weapons the Vexnor had seen before. The Thracians had used energy weapons that the swarm could adapt to. The humans used fire. Incendiary rounds designed to fight forest fires on Earth slammed into the Vexnor formations. Each round burned at temperatures that made the planet's natural heat feel cold. The creatures that had evolved to survive extreme conditions suddenly found themselves in conditions that were beyond extreme. Cryogenic missiles followed the fire. These were weapons developed to fight Earth's most resilient pests, creatures that could survive being frozen and then thawed. The missiles flash-froze entire sections of the swarm, then shattered them with kinetic impacts. Chemical weapons came next. Humanity had spent centuries developing poisons to kill insects, bacteria, and viruses that could adapt to almost anything. Those same chemicals, scaled up to industrial levels, proved devastatingly effective against the Vexnor. "Target the concentrations near the cities," Jake ordered. "I want those civilians protected." The Defiant swept low over a Thessian city, its guns blazing. Below, terrified aliens watched as the human ship flew directly through a Vexnor swarm that had been slowly consuming their homes. Where the swarm had been, there was now just smoke and falling debris. On the Thunderhead, Lisa's drop pods launched. They fell like meteors, their heat shields glowing bright enough to be seen from orbit. The Vexnor, thinking they were more ships to swarm, moved to intercept. The pods hit the ground at speeds that would have killed most species. The humans inside felt the impact as a brutal jolt, but their bodies, evolved to handle Earth's full gravity, could take it. The pods cracked open and Marines poured out into the toxic air. "Masks on, people," Lisa ordered. "This atmosphere will kill you in about 30 seconds without protection." The Marines activated their suit systems. Each soldier wore armor that could regulate temperature, filter air, and protect against radiation. It was gear designed for the most extreme environments Earth could offer. Compared to some places on their homeworld, this was actually not that bad. "Sergeant Bennett, take your squad east. Private Collins, you are with me. We are heading for that large structure. Sensors say it is a breeding chamber." They moved through the streets of the abandoned city. Around them, Vexnor warriors began to appear. The creatures were massive, each one the size of a small car, with shells that looked like black metal and claws that could tear through steel. "Open fire," Lisa commanded. The Marines unleashed their weapons. Rifles barked, sending armor-piercing rounds into the Vexnor. Flamethrowers roared, bathing the creatures in fire that burned hot enough to melt stone. Grenade launchers thumped, sending explosive charges into the swarm. The Vexnor had never faced anything like this. They were used to fighting species that were afraid of them, that retreated in the face of their power. The humans did not retreat. They advanced, firing and laughing and shouting challenges. "Is that all you got?" Jake Collins yelled as he emptied his magazine into a charging Vexnor warrior. "My grandma hits harder than that." "Reload and keep moving," Lisa ordered. "We are not here to fight every single bug. We are here to destroy their ability to make more bugs." They fought their way to the breeding chamber. It was a massive organic structure that pulsed with unnatural life. Inside, thousands of Vexnor eggs were growing, each one ready to hatch into another warrior. "Plant the charges," Lisa said. "I want this place reduced to atoms." Sergeant Kyle Bennett moved through the chamber, placing explosive charges at key structural points. The charges were simple. No fancy technology. Just good old chemical explosives, the kind humans had been using for centuries. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways. Charges set. "We have 3 minutes to get clear." The Marines ran. Behind them, the Vexnor realized what was happening and tried to stop them, but it was too late. The charges detonated in sequence, each explosion triggering the next. The breeding chamber collapsed in on itself, then exploded outward in a massive fireball. In orbit, Admiral Vellon watched in disbelief. They destroyed a breeding chamber. How? "We tried that same tactic and lost 2 entire battalions." His tactical officer studied the sensor readings. "Admiral, the humans are using weapons I do not understand. They are burning hotter than our ships can withstand. They are freezing sections of the swarm solid, and they are using chemical weapons that seem specifically designed to kill organic tissue. Where did they get such weapons?" According to the database, most of these weapons were originally developed for use on Earth itself. For pest control, fire suppression, and disease prevention. They have simply scaled them up. Feln stared at the screen. The humans had taken weapons designed to fight their own planet's dangers and turned them into military hardware. It was insane. It was brutal, and it was working. On the surface, Lisa regrouped her Marines. Good work, people. That is one breeding chamber down. Intelligence says there are 5 more. Let us go break some more eggs. The Marines cheered and moved out. They were tired. They were hot. Their armor was scorched, and their weapons were running low on ammunition. But they were smiling, because this was what they trained for. This was what being human meant. When the galaxy needed someone to fight in hell itself, Earth sent its people, and they went in laughing. The battle for Thrax's Prime entered its 3rd hour. The human fleet had broken through the upper atmosphere and was now engaging the Vexner at close range. The aliens had never fought an enemy that actually wanted to get closer to them. Most species tried to attack from a distance, where the heat and toxins were less dangerous. The humans charged right in. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the tactical display. His ship was currently flying at an altitude that would have cooked most vessels. The hull temperature was holding steady at 500 degrees. The crew was sweating, but alive. Danny, bring us around for another pass over Sector 7. I want to clear those Vexner off that refugee center. Aye, Captain. Coming around. The Defiant banked hard, its engines screaming. Below, a Thracian refugee center was under siege by thousands of Vexner warriors. The aliens were slowly breaking through the walls, getting closer to the terrified civilians inside. Greg, give me a firing solution. Precision strikes only. I do not want any civilian casualties. Greg Palmer worked his console quickly. Solution locked, firing. The Defiant's guns spoke. Carefully aimed shots slammed into the Vexnor swarm. Each impact calculated to destroy the enemy without damaging the refugee center. It was the kind of precision shooting that required split-second timing and nerves of steel. Direct hits. The swarm is breaking up. The civilians should be able to evacuate now. Jake allowed himself a small smile. Good shooting, Greg. Amy, signal the Thracian ground forces. Tell them the path is clear. On the surface, Commander Lisa Zhang was having a different kind of fight. Her Marines had destroyed 2 more breeding chambers, but the Vexnor were learning. They were adapting their tactics, sending smaller, faster warriors to harass the humans while the larger ones tried to flank them. They are getting smarter, Sergeant Kyle Bennett observed as he shot down another Vexnor drone. They're trying to separate us. Let them try, Lisa said. Form up defensive positions. We hold here until the charges are set in breeding chamber 4. The Marines formed a circle, each soldier covering a different direction. This was a tactic as old as human warfare itself. When surrounded, you made yourself into a fortress. The Vexnor charged from all sides, their claws scraping against armor, their mandibles trying to find weak points. Private Jake Collins was on his 3rd magazine when his rifle jammed. Gun down. Switching to secondary. He pulled out his sidearm and kept firing. Next to him, Corporal Megan Foster was using a flamethrower, bathing the approaching Vexnor in streams of liquid fire. Behind them, Private Sam Hayes was setting up a heavy machine gun. Gun up and ready, Sam shouted. Everybody duck. The Marines dropped flat. Sam opened fire with the heavy weapon, the massive rounds tearing through the Vexnor ranks. The creatures were tough, but physics was physics. Enough kinetic force would break anything. Charges are set, called out Private Danny Lee from inside the breeding chamber. 30 seconds. Everyone back to the extraction point, Lisa ordered.
Double time, people.
Move, move, move. The Marines ran. The Vexnor, sensing their target was escaping, charged after them. It became a race. Could the humans get clear before the explosives detonated? Could they outrun creatures that had evolved to be fast hunters? They could, because humans had evolved to be distance runners. On Earth, early humans had hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. That same endurance now saved their lives. The Marines kept running even when their muscles screamed and their lungs burned. They ran because that was what humans did. They ran because giving up was not an option. The breeding chamber exploded just as the last Marine cleared the danger zone. The blast wave knocked them off their feet, but their armor protected them from the worst of it. They lay on the ground for a moment, catching their breath. Sound off, Lisa called out.
I want a head count.
Squad 1 all present. Squad 2 all accounted for. Squad 3, we are good. Lisa stood up and helped Kyle to his feet. 3 breeding chambers down, 2 to go, and we are running low on ammunition. Then we better make every shot count, Kyle said with a grin. In space, the battle was becoming more intense. The Vexnor had adapted to the human tactics and were now attacking in coordinated waves. They would swarm one ship, trying to overwhelm it, then move to the next target. "Captain, we have Vexnor on the hull," Amy reported. "They are trying to breach the outer plating." Jake's response was immediate. "Vent the affected sections. Flush them into space, but sir, that will mean do it. Those sections are empty right now. Better to lose some hull plating than let them get inside." Amy hit the controls. The affected sections of the Defiant's hull suddenly vented their atmosphere, blowing the attached Vexnor off into space. The creatures tumbled away, still alive but no longer a threat. Hull breach sealed. Damage control teams are responding. "Good, Danny, take us higher. I want more altitude between us and the main swarm." But the Vexnor had other plans. A massive formation of warriors, thousands strong, launched themselves from the surface. They were not trying to swarm individual ships anymore. They were trying to create a living wall between the humans and the planet. "That is new," Greg observed. "They have never done that before." "They are adapting," Jake said. "Learning from their losses." Amy, signal all ships. "Pattern Omega. We are going through them." "Through them, sir. That is exactly what we are going to do. If they want to make a wall, we will break it." The human fleet formed up. Every ship aligned on the same vector. Weapons armed and shields at maximum. Then, as one, they accelerated directly toward the Vexnor formation. Admiral Veln watched from his flagship. "They are going to ram through? That is suicide." But he did not understand human tactics. The humans were not just ramming. As they approached the Vexnor wall, they fired everything they had. Missiles, guns, lasers, and all those strange Earth weapons. The wall of Vexnor warriors began to disintegrate under the assault, and then the ships were through, trailing smoke and fire, but still flying. They had punched a hole straight through the enemy formation. It was brutal. It was dangerous. It was very, very human. "Damage report," Jake called out as the Defiant cleared the formation. "Forward shields down to 20%. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 5. Weapon systems nominal. We are still in the fight, Captain." "Then let us keep fighting. Bring us around for another pass." On the ground, Lisa's Marines had reached Breeding Chamber 5. This one was different. It was larger than the others, buried deep underground. Intelligence said it was the primary breeding facility for this continent. Destroy it and the Vexnor would lose their ability to replace casualties fast enough to matter. "This is going to be tricky," Kyle said, studying the entrance. "The whole thing is underground. We will have to go in deep to place the charges." "Then that is what we do," Lisa said. "Sam, Danny, you are with me. Kyle, you hold the entrance. Do not let anything follow us down." "Understood, Commander." Lisa and her team descended into the breeding chamber. The tunnels were hot, dark, and narrow. The walls pulsed with organic material that seemed almost alive. Because it was alive. The entire structure was a living thing. A massive organism designed to produce Vexnor warriors. "This is disgusting," Sam muttered as they moved deeper. "Focus," Lisa said. "We are here to destroy it, not critique it." They reached the central chamber. It was huge, easily the size of a sports stadium. And it was full of eggs, thousands of them, each one containing a developing Vexnor warrior. "Plant charges on the support pillars," Lisa ordered. "If we bring down the ceiling, we bury everything." They worked quickly, placing explosive charges at key structural points. But the breeding chamber was not undefended. Vexnor guards began emerging from side tunnels, drawn by the presence of intruders. "We have company," Danny shouted, opening fire. The fight was close and brutal. In the confined space, the Vexnor's size became a disadvantage. They could not maneuver easily. The humans, smaller and more agile, used the terrain to their advantage. They ducked behind pillars, fired from cover, and kept moving. "Last charge placed," Sam called out. "We need to go now." They ran back through the tunnels. Behind them, the Vexnor guards gave chase. It was a nightmare run through dark, twisting passages with monsters on their heels. But humans had evolved running from predators. It was in their blood. They burst out of the entrance just as the charges detonated. The entire breeding chamber collapsed in on itself, taking thousands of eggs and dozens of guards with it. A massive cloud of dust and debris erupted from the entrance. "That is 4 down, Lisa said, checking her tactical display. 1 more to go. But the last breeding chamber would be the hardest. Intelligence said it was located in the heart of the Vexnor-controlled territory, surrounded by tens of thousands of warriors. Getting to it would require everything the humans had. All units, this is Commander Jang, Lisa said over the command channel. Converge on my position. We are making a final push. Time to finish this fight. In orbit, Jake received the message. All ships support the ground forces. I want continuous fire on the Vexnor positions around Breeding Chamber 6. Clear them a path. The human fleet turned as one and began bombarding the surface. Fire and fury rained down from the sky. The Vexnor, tough as they were, could not stand against the concentrated firepower of 47 warships. On the ground, Lisa gathered her Marines. They were tired. They were low on ammunition. Some were wounded. But they were still fighting, because that was what Deathworlders did. They kept going when anyone else would have quit. All right, people, Lisa said. One more breeding chamber.
One more fight.
Let us show these bugs why you never mess with Earth. Let us show them why we are called Deathworlders, because we come from a planet that tried to kill us every single day. And we are still here. We are still standing. We are still fighting. The Marines cheered. They loaded fresh magazines, checked their gear, and prepared for the final assault. Above them, the human fleet provided cover fire. Behind them, the Thracian civilians they had saved watched in awe. The humans were going back into hell, and they were going in laughing, because that was what Deathworlders did. The final breeding chamber was a fortress. The Vexnor had concentrated their remaining forces around it, creating a defensive perimeter that stretched for miles. Tens of thousands of warriors moved in coordinated patterns, ready to swarm anything that got close. Commander Lisa Zhang studied the tactical map from her command position. Her Marines were gathered around her waiting for orders. They had been fighting for 6 hours straight. Their armor was scorched and damaged. Their weapons were running on the last of their ammunition, but not one of them suggested retreat. The breeding chamber is 3 miles north of our position, Lisa said, pointing at the map. Between us and it are approximately 50,000 Vexnor warriors. The good news is that our orbital support has thinned their numbers. The bad news is that 50,000 is still a lot. Sergeant Kyle Bennett studied the approach routes. Commander, even with air support, we cannot fight through that many. We will run out of ammo before we get halfway there. You are right, Lisa agreed. Which is why we are not going to fight through them. We are going under them. She pulled up a different map, this one showing underground structures. The Thracians built an extensive tunnel system under this city for their transportation network. The tunnels run right under the Vexnor defensive line. We use the tunnels to get close, then surface right at the breeding chamber. Private Sam Hayes frowned. Commander, those tunnels are 50 years old. There is no guarantee they are still stable. And if the Vexnor figure out what we are doing, we will be trapped underground with no way out. That is true, Lisa said, but it is our best chance. We have come this far. We are not stopping now. The Marines moved out, heading for the nearest tunnel entrance. Above them, the human fleet kept up a steady bombardment, making sure the Vexnor stayed focused on the sky instead of the ground. On the bridge of the Defiant, Captain Jake Morrison watched the Marines' progress on his tactical display. Amy, how are our supplies holding up? We are down to 40% on missiles, 60% on main gun ammunition. Fuel cells are at 70%. We can keep this up for maybe another 2 hours before we need to fall back and rearm. Then we better make these 2 hours count. Danny, keep us in position over the Marines. I want constant fire support ready if they need it. Aye, Captain. Greg Palmer turned from his station. Captain, I am picking up strange readings from the Vexnor formation. They are moving their forces around. I think they are getting ready for something. What kind of something? I do not know. But it is big, really big. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The Vexnor had been adapting throughout the fight, learning from each encounter. What had they learned? What were they planning? Keep scanning, and be ready for anything. Below the surface, Lisa's Marines moved through the old tunnels. It was dark down there, lit only by their helmet lights. The tunnels were cramped and dusty, filled with old equipment and debris. This reminds me of the subway tunnels back home, Private Jake Collins said, except those had rats. Wonder if this planet has rats. If they do, they probably have acid blood or poison fangs, Megan Foster replied. Everything on this planet seems designed to kill. That is what makes it interesting, Jake said with a grin. They moved deeper into the tunnel system, following Lisa's map. The tunnels twisted and turned, sometimes branching off in unexpected directions. It was easy to get lost down here, but Lisa kept them on course, checking their position against the map every few minutes. We are directly under the Vexnor defensive line now, she said quietly. Keep your voices down. We do not know how well sound travels through these tunnels. They moved in silence, weapons ready. Every shadow seemed to hold danger. Every sound made them jump. This was not the kind of fighting humans preferred. They liked to see their enemy, to face them head on. Sneaking through dark tunnels felt wrong, but humans were adaptable. If sneaking was what the mission required, then sneaking was what they would do. After 30 minutes of careful movement, Lisa held up her hand. We are here. The breeding chamber should be directly above us. Sam Danny set charges on the ceiling. We are going to make our own entrance. While the demolition team worked, Kyle and the others set up defensive positions. If the Vexnor heard the explosives and came investigating, they needed to be ready. Charges set, Sam reported. On your command, Commander. Lisa looked at her team. These were good people, brave people. They had followed her into hell without hesitation. Whatever happened next, she was proud to serve with them. Blow it. The charges detonated, blowing a hole in the tunnel ceiling. Dust and debris rained down, but the explosion was controlled. It created an opening just large enough for the Marines to climb through. They emerged in the heart of the breeding chamber. And it was worse than they had imagined. The chamber was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the others they had destroyed. But it was not just the size that was horrifying. This chamber was different. It was producing something new. What are those? Kyle asked, staring at the massive eggs in the center of the chamber. Lisa's blood ran cold. I think those are queen eggs. The Vexnor are trying to create new queens. If those hatch, the swarm will be able to spread to 12 worlds at once. Then we better make sure they do not hatch, Jake Collins said, already moving toward the eggs with his demolition kit. But the Vexnor had been waiting for them. The guards in this chamber were different from the ones they had fought before. These were bigger, faster, and clearly smarter. They had been expecting an attack. Contact!
Multiple hostiles.
Megan shouted, opening fire. The fight was immediate and brutal. The Vexnor guards charged from all directions. There were too many of them, and they were too strong. The Marines fell back, firing as they retreated, trying to buy time for the demolition team. Sam, Danny, how long do you need? Lisa called out while shooting down an approaching guard. 5 minutes, Sam replied. These eggs are heavily armored. We need to place charges precisely or they will survive the blast. You have got 3 minutes. Make it work. The Marines formed a defensive line between the eggs and the Vexnor guards. It was the kind of last stand that humans had been making since the dawn of time. Surrounded, outnumbered, but refusing to give up. Private Jake Collins was on his last magazine. Next to him, Megan's flamethrower sputtered and died, its fuel exhausted. Kyle was using his combat knife, having run out of ammunition entirely. They were down to their last resources, fighting with everything they had. Charges set, Danny yelled. Everybody out. We have 60 seconds! But getting out was not going to be easy. The Vexnor guards blocked their escape route. There were too many of them, and the Marines were too tired to fight their way through. Plan B, Lisa shouted. Everyone back to the tunnel. We go down and out. They fought their way back to the hole they had made in the floor. One by one, the Marines dropped through back into the tunnels below. Lisa went last, firing her sidearm until the chamber was empty, then jumping through just as the Vexnor guards reached her. They ran through the tunnels as fast as they could. Behind them, they heard the charges detonate. The explosion was massive, shaking the entire tunnel system. Sections of the ceiling began to collapse. Keep moving, Lisa ordered. Do not stop! They ran through falling debris and choking dust. The tunnels were coming apart around them, but they kept going. Because that was what humans did. They kept moving forward no matter what. They burst out of the tunnel entrance just as the entire system collapsed behind them. They rolled down a small hill and lay there, gasping for breath, covered in dust and blood and exhaustion. Sound off, Lisa said weakly. Is everyone alive? Squad 1 all present. Squad 2 here. Squad 3 accounted for. They had done it. All 5 breeding chambers were destroyed. The Vexnor could no longer replace their losses. The battle was not over, but the tide had turned. In orbit, Captain Jake Morrison watched the explosion from the final breeding chamber. Greg, what is the status of the Vexnor swarm? They are breaking up, Captain. Without the breeding chambers, they cannot coordinate as effectively. They are splitting into smaller groups, becoming disorganized. Then let us finish this. All ships free fire. Take them down. The human fleet descended on the remaining Vexnor forces like wolves on scattered sheep. Without their breeding chambers, without their coordination, the Vexnor were just individual creatures. Still dangerous, but no longer unstoppable. Admiral Velen watched from his flagship as the humans systematically destroyed the swarm. How did they do it? He asked his tactical officer. How did such a young species defeat an enemy that has destroyed empires? The tactical officer studied his display. Admiral, I have been watching their tactics throughout the battle. The humans do not fight like we do. They do not follow standard military doctrine. They adapt constantly, changing their approach based on what works. When fire does not work, they use ice. When ice does not work, they use chemicals. When nothing works, they use brute force. But that is not a strategy. That is chaos. No, Admiral, that is evolution. The humans evolved on a planet where nothing was constant. The weather changed, the predators changed, the environment changed. So they learned to change with it. They learned to adapt faster than anything else. That is their advantage. Not strength, not speed, not technology. Adaptability. Velen looked at the human ships on his display. They were damaged and worn, but still fighting, still pushing forward. He thought about his own species, comfortable and specialized. They had evolved in stable environments, become experts at specific things, but when those environments changed, they could not adapt fast enough. The humans were different. They came from a world that had tried to kill them in every way possible, and they had survived by learning to fight back, to adapt, to never give up. They truly are Deathworlders, Velen said quietly. Not because they come from a death world, but because they carry its lessons with them wherever they go. On the surface, Lisa's Marines were being evacuated back to the Thunderhead. They were exhausted and injured, but alive. As they boarded the transport, they passed Thessian civilians who had been saved by their actions. One young Thessian approached Kyle. Human soldier, why did you help us? We are strangers to you. Kyle smiled, tired but genuine. Kid, where I come from, when someone needs help, you help them. It is that simple. Maybe it is because we know what it is like to face impossible odds. Maybe it is because we learned that working together is how you survive. Or maybe it is just because it is the right thing to do. He ruffled the young alien's head equivalent. Besides, this was not even that dangerous. Wait until you hear about Earth's oceans. Now those are scary. 3 hours after the destruction of the final breeding chamber, the battle for Theraxis Prime was over. The remaining Vexnor warriors, unable to replace their losses and lacking coordination, had scattered into the wilderness. Some fled off-world. Others simply stopped fighting and died where they stood, their collective consciousness broken. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the cleanup operations begin. Around the planet, human ships were scanning for remaining Vexnor concentrations while helping Thessian rescue teams reach trapped civilians. Final casualty report. Captain, Amy Rodriguez said, handing him a data pad. 15 wounded from the Marine units, none critical. Ship casualties include 3 frigates with heavy damage, requiring shipyard repairs. No deaths. Jake let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. We got lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it, sir, Lieutenant Danny Chen said from the helm. We trained for this. We prepared for this, and when the moment came, everyone did their job. Danny is right, Greg Palmer added from Tactical. The Vexnor were tough, but we were tougher. Or at least more stubborn. Jake smiled. I will take stubborn over tough any day. Amy, send a message to all ships. Well done. They have earned a rest. On the surface, Commander Lisa Zhang walked through the ruins of the city her Marines had defended. Thessian civilians were emerging from shelters, seeing sunlight for the first time in days. Children ran through the streets playing among the debris. Adults began the slow process of rebuilding. A group of Thessian soldiers approached her. Their leader, a captain whose name translated to something like Bright Sun, gave what Lisa assumed was a salute. Commander Zhang, I wanted to thank you. My people would have been wiped out if not for your intervention. We owe you a debt we can never repay. Lisa shook her head. You do not owe us anything, Captain. We were just doing what needed to be done. But why? You barely know us. Your species only joined the Galactic Council 2 years ago. Why risk your lives for strangers? Lisa thought about the question. It was something humans had been asked many times since joining the galactic community. Why did they help? Why did they fight? Why did they care? On Earth, she said slowly, we have a saying. We are all in this together. For millions of years, humans survived by working together. One person alone cannot fight a cave bear or survive an ice age. But a group of people working together can do anything. That lesson stuck with us. When we see someone in trouble, we do not calculate the odds or measure the benefits. We just help. It is who we are. Bright Sun looked at the human commander with new understanding. Your planet must be remarkable to have produced such people. Lisa laughed. Remarkable is one word for it. Terrifying is another. Earth is the kind of place where you have to check your shoes for poisonous spiders before you put them on. Where storms can level entire cities. Where the water can kill you and the air can make you sick. It is beautiful and horrible at the same time, and yet you speak of it with love, because it is home, and because everything we are, everything that makes us human, comes from that planet. The good and the bad. The strength and the stubbornness. The compassion and the violence. Earth made us what we are. In orbit, Admiral Velln had requested a meeting with Captain Morrison. The two commanders faced each other across a video link, one alien and one human, separated by species but united by the battle they had just fought. Captain Morrison, I must admit something, Velln said. When the Council suggested contacting humanity for help, I was against it. I thought your species was too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous. I believed the rumors that you were barely civilized barbarians from a nightmare world. Jake nodded. And now? Now I understand that I was both right and wrong. You are violent. You are unpredictable. You do come from a nightmare world. But those are not weaknesses. They are strengths. Your violence is controlled and directed. Your unpredictability makes you adaptable. And your nightmare world made you stronger than any of us realized. Admiral, can I tell you something? Humans did not evolve to be warriors. We evolved to be survivors. On Earth, there are animals faster than us, stronger than us, with better claws and teeth. But we are still here because we learned to think, to plan, to work together. When you called for help, we did not come because we wanted to fight. We came because we wanted to help. The fighting was just what needed to happen to make that possible. Velln was quiet for a moment. Captain, the Council has been debating humanity's role in the galaxy. Many species fear you. They see your capabilities and worry about what you might do with them. After today, that fear will only grow. Then we will have to prove that their fear is misplaced, Jake said. We will show them that Deathworlders can be trusted. That strength does not mean aggression. That being dangerous does not mean being evil. I hope you succeed, Captain, because after seeing what you can do, I would not want to face humanity as an enemy. Jake smiled. Neither would we, Admiral. Neither would we. Later that evening, the human fleet gathered in orbit for a final briefing. Captains from every ship, including Lisa and her Marine commanders, appeared on the video conference. They were tired and worn, but their spirits were high. All right, everyone, Jake said. We have done good work here. The Vexnor are broken. The Threesian civilians are safe, and we are all still alive. That counts as a win in my book. But I want to talk about what happens next. The galaxy is watching, Lisa said. They saw what we did here. How we fought. What we are capable of. Some will be grateful. Others will be terrified. That is true, Jake agreed. But here is what I want everyone to remember. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to dominate. We are here to be part of the galactic community. Yes, we come from a harsh world. Yes, we are good at fighting. But that is not all we are. We are also scientists and artists. We are explorers and teachers. We are everything that humanity has ever been, good and bad. Amy Rodriguez spoke up. Captain, what do we tell the other species when they ask why we are different? Why we fight when others run? Why we laugh in the face of danger? Jake thought about it. We tell them the truth, that we come from a planet that tried to kill us every single day, and we learned to fight back. We tell them that we evolved in a world of constant change, so we learned to adapt. We tell them that we survived by working together, so we help others when we can, and we tell them that being from a death world does not make us monsters. It makes us survivors. The conference ended and the fleet began preparations for the journey home. But before they left, Jake recorded one final message to be delivered to the Galactic Council. To the member species of the Council, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Human Space Vessel Defiant. Today, my crew and I, along with 46 other human ships, responded to your call for help. We faced an enemy that had destroyed civilizations and defeated armies, and we stopped them. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I am not telling you this to brag or to intimidate. I am telling you this so you understand what humanity offers. We are a young species. We are still learning our place in the galaxy, but we bring something unique. We bring the lessons learned from surviving on a world that never gave us any mercy. We bring adaptability, persistence, and the absolute refusal to give up. Jake looked directly into the camera. Some of you fear us. That is understandable. We are different. We are aggressive by your standards. We take risks that seem insane to species from more stable worlds. But here is what I want you to know. We did not come to the stars to conquer. We came to explore. We came to learn. We came to be part of something bigger than ourselves. He smiled, his characteristic grin. Today you asked for our help and we gave it. We asked for nothing in return except the chance to prove that Deathworlders can be trusted. I hope we succeeded, because this galaxy is a big place and there will be more threats, more challenges, more impossible situations. When those moments come, do not hesitate to call on Earth. We will answer. We might show up laughing through fire, but we will show up. That is a promise. The message ended. Across human space, people watched it with pride. Across the rest of the galaxy, aliens watched it with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. The Deathworlders had proven themselves in battle. Now they would have to prove themselves in peace. On Earth, news of the victory spread quickly. There were celebrations in every city, not because of the military success, but because humanity had helped. They had answered a call for aid from species they barely knew, and had risked everything to save them. It was the most human thing they could have done. Months later, a young human child asked her teacher a question. Why are we called Deathworlders? It sounds scary. The teacher smiled. Because we come from a planet called Earth, and Earth is what the galaxy calls a death world, a place where everything is dangerous, where the weather can kill, where the animals hunt, where even the smallest creatures can end your life. But we survived, the child said. We did better than survive. We thrived. We built cities and civilizations. We created art and music. We reached for the stars, and when others needed help, we were ready. Not because we are better than other species, but because our planet taught us how to face impossible challenges and keep going. The child thought about this. So being from a death world is a good thing? It is what you make of it. The same traits that help us survive can be used to help or to harm. We choose to help. That is what makes us human, not where we come from, but what we do with the strength we gained from that place. Above Earth, ships continued to launch into space. Some carried explorers seeking new worlds. Some carried scientists studying the cosmos. Some carried soldiers ready to defend the innocent. All carried the lessons of their harsh homeworld. They were Deathworlders, and the galaxy was learning what that really meant. Not monsters, not conquerors, just survivors who had learned to thrive in the harshest environment imaginable. And now they were sharing that strength with the universe, one rescue at a time. The Vexner had learned the hard way what happened when you threatened humanity's allies. Others would learn too in time. Not through conquest or fear, but through the simple act of showing up when called, ready to help, ready to fight, ready to laugh through fire if that is what it took, because that was what Deathworlders did.